I was wondering if you guys have any cool vacation stories to share since we're all at beachwear and
Yes.
we are in the mood right now.
Well, nothing approaching the Cuban horse, but
The Cuban horse.
It sounds like a bad romance novel.
It really does. With like Fabio.
The cover, and
I
it's
was
like
striding
Cuban
next to her and she fell off the horse and I rescued her and we had a lovely kiss and I can't even do his accent.
When I was in Mexico with some of the boys when I was younger, my family's on here too, so I know my mom's gonna be covering her face when she hears this story. I was at Senor Frogs and there was a midget outside.
we prefer little people. We prefer little people.
We say little
Okay,
people.
sorry.
There's a little person.
It was Speedy's cousin Jose, and
Wow.
no, so
Oh
he's
my
like, and he saw,
Oh my
like,
God.
I think I only had this tattoo at the time because I think I was still like 18, and he saw it and it was like, "Oh, you like tattoos? You want one right now?" And me being a very intoxicated 18-year-old,
Oh, you mean 21-year-old?
man. Well, I was in Mexico, so it's good. It was
Oh,
18.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Different drinking age.
And so I said, yeah, and I ended up following this little guy to this apartment building that was, I guess, a tattoo studio as well.
Oh no.
And I got this
No.
sweet barbed wire tattoo while he kept bringing me dollar Dos Equis from like
You
the
have
corner store.
you have a Pamela Anderson tattoo?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
I
that
do.
is.
Wow.
Sorry,
Pamela
Mel.
Wow.
So you can
Anderson.
do the Baywatch run, and it's very, you and
Okay.
Pamela could do it next to each other, and you both have matching tattoos.
I know, and my man boobs are almost as big as hers, so like, we're good.
Quarantine.
Wow. Wow. All right.
We're only 5 minutes into the show, and
And
we're
it's
at
already
this level.
I don't know why.
Yeah, on Friday night.
I don't know why you invited me on this. This is a bad idea.
He said man boobs. That's funny. That's hilarious.
Oh my. Okay, Speedy, how about you? No, great. No. Oh my. Okay. Oh, wow.
I'm gonna pass on that one. Yeah.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
Let's see. Well, it's not necessarily well, my wife and I got married down in Cancun, so I would probably have to say the wild, wild night was really the night of I guess in the sense of like my bachelor party, in which my partner, my man Chad, got us transportation in a taxi. We were thinking like, in Cancun and go out, hit the strip, something like that. We actually ended up getting into the taxi and went off, like we went to a real, what would you call it in this, I guess a gentleman's club in Cancun, but it was way past, like we drove down the strip and then kept going. And I swear we were driving for like 20 minutes. Like we were in the barrios. Like I was like, what in the hell, we're gonna die? Like, I don't know. And then we just came to one spot, parked the car, everybody got out. I mean, we were literally like, we were hanging out with the locals for real. It was crazy. I don't know how the heck he found this spot, but we definitely stood out. Like we look like some tourists. I mean, heck, it's mostly black dudes. It showed up at a spot in Mexico, and we were just in there like, hey, let's see what's happening here. So I mean, I thought I was gonna die. I was like, I'm not even gonna be able to get married. Like I'm dead, dude. Like we're not gonna get out here alive.
So,
But we made it out. We had a good time, and I still don't know where the heck we were. It was just somewhere in the outskirts of Cancun. I don't know where the heck we were, but we made it back, and I got back in the crib, and I snuck. It was funny because I snuck back in. We got back into the hotel, and I literally had to sneak back into the room where my fiance at the time, where she was in there. I was like, babe, I'm not gonna look at you. Just unlock the door and then go back and get to bed, and you face that way, and I'm gonna face this way. It was a crazy night. It was like 4 o'clock.
Oh my God.
It was ridiculous. The rest of the night was a freaking blur, right? I have no idea what happened at the club.
What happens in the outskirts of Cancun stays in the outskirts of
I will
Cancun.
say that's one of the most fun. wholesome, fun night I had on a cruise is it was a bachelor party cruise, and we made friends with a bunch of the crew. And when they're off work, they can't, obviously party on the boat or anything. So they all get off and they have these local spots that they go to, whatever. So we met them off the boat and just hung out with these Carnival crew people, and it was blast. I mean, it was so like your not typical tourist experience whatsoever. It was kind of like what Jay was saying. It was just like local hole in the wall kind of bar, and it was great.
So, was the
fun
question the
than-
most memorable vacation stories? Is that the question? Not the most disastrous? Was that, May, is that what you asked us?
No, just interesting, because I think disastrous is a whole
Interesting.
other level.
Yeah,
that
well,
we might
so
need to
far-
talk about off.
That's
Yeah.
why I
Mhm.
questioned it. Interesting. I don't know. I've traveled. I was very lucky in my 20s to be able to travel the world for work. So, I mean, I have a lot of insane stories about going to crazy places and interesting. Maybe the most interesting is I went to Russia by myself. I was living in Belgium at the time, and I thought, I'm probably not going to live here forever. And it's like right there, and it's super cheap. And as an American, I'm so curious what Russia is like. And so I went by myself. It was, I had an amazing time. It was really interesting. And everybody that I met was so interested in talking to me as an American, and everybody asked the same question. I remember being at a bar one night, and we were all drinking, of course, vodka, and the one
I thought you were
gal,
gonna say whiskey. I don't know.
no, it was no. And she said, when you were young, did you always wait for the Russia to blow up America? And I'm like, oh yeah, pretty much in the 80s. Yep. And she's like, yeah, us too. And so we started trading stories, and it was like living parallel lives. I'm like, oh, that's cheery. But I learned a lot about the culture just going by myself. So that was really super interesting. Gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like disaster trips. I mean, our trip to Ecuador last year was pretty funny too, I have to say. We ended up going to the beach. Well, the day we were supposed to fly out, there was the country went on lockdown. There was protests that kind of sprung up all over the country, and we thought the president was going to get ousted, and it was pretty insane. They were closing airports, and we were like, just let us out of here, just let us get out of here. It was pretty nuts, but that's what happens when you travel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
that's also the fun of traveling. Like I first took my first solo trip when I was 19, and I went to Paris, Switzerland, and the UK by myself. And me, like a dum-dum, being a New York girl, never gone skiing before, decide to go to the Swiss Alps, right? So I go to the Swiss Alps, and I just came from Paris, and so I had like a purple lavender pashmina on, put my hair in braids. I go up there and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And of course, I'm in a hostel, right? Because you don't have money. You're 19 years
Right.
old. You're just with a whole bunch of people. And the guy who was like the ski instructor with the hostel was a bit of a cad. And he was like, he only spent time with you if he thought there was like a chance. And like everyone else just wanted to leave me alone because they wanted to ski. So they left me alone. I went to the T-bar, right? Fall off of the T-bar on the snow, and the guys who are operating the T-bar are too high to realize that someone fell off. So I'm in there, I'm with my skis. I keep falling into the snow. I fall into the banks, and my skis keep sticking up, and there's like these little adorable babies from like Austria and Germany, and they're in like their little snow jumpsuits, and they're like wee wee wee, and I'm just like face down. Then it gets to the point where the clouds are coming, and it's getting so bad that everyone needs to evacuate, right? But I can't do that if I can't get to the other mountain. And the visibility is getting so bad that no one's coming anymore, right? So these two German guys in a tractor find me and they pick me up, they scoop me in, they rescue me. And I go meet the rest of the people who are in my hospital, and they had a bet about how long it would take for them to recover me.
Oh my
And
God.
then to add insult
Whoa.
to injury, I forgot to wear sunscreen. So I take off of my goggles and I am beet red. and, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to live with it. So I decided to put red lipstick on with my red beet face on. And then I went skydiving the next day in Switzerland. So I have that video. So good time.
Skydiving. No thanks.
Yeah.
Wow. Child, you're
Good
crazy.
time.
Nice. Good for you.
I'll definitely I'll get in a plane. I don't love it, but I'm definitely not jumping out of it. No, thank you. So,
I think I'll do that for my 100th birthday party. I'm just going to jump out of a plane. Like, at this point in time, if it don't work out, I'm cool either way.
I mean, that would be unless you have a heart attack on the way down, if you're 100
that.
years old. So I wanted to ask you guys, yesterday we had Cody Brown from Home Bar Network on our Cocktail Club show. And we kind of got into, a discussion about the cocktail that he made was a pantry cocktail, inspired by, he had this fresh tarragon, and he's like, I don't know what to do with it, so I'm going to make a syrup out of it. And he decided to do a whiskey sour with it. And it got us all to thinking, like, and kind of like, you know, Eric, you said I didn't have any simple syrup and you were in a rush. Is there something that you guys, like, how has quarantine changed your drinking habits? Do you find that you are making more cocktails at home or less? Are you really kind of stretching your creativity by what's in your pantry? Because that's the question that I get asked the most. And I told a story last night that a good friend of mine runs an organization called The Intentionalist, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful project in Seattle. It specifically teaches you how to spend money intentionally for small businesses, diverse businesses, things like that. And so you can imagine right now, has just been out there nonstop, kind of single-handedly trying to keep a lot of independent businesses alive right now during the quarantine. And specifically Asian restaurants that got, as we know, hit the hardest first, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So she's out there, and I'm sure, you know, it's not happy in most places she's going to in the stories she's hearing. So she calls me and she says, I've had a terrible day. And she's always such a happy person. She's like, I'm ready to break down. And I'm like, oh my God, what can I do for you? And I couldn't imagine what I could do over the phone. And she said, I need a cocktail. And I was like, okay, I got this. That I can do. Open your fridge. What's in your fridge? And we just went down the line. She had a bottle of Uncle Nearest and what she had in her fridge. And I said, okay, I was like, I want to get her something where she can shake up like 2 or 3 cocktails at once so she doesn't have to keep making it. She's going to sit on the couch. You know, I told her to pour it into a big jar and then she can pour it in her glass. Something easy for her that she could just throw in. And it was, when I heard her take the sip, she did that like, and I could hear like her shoulders, you know, relaxing. And it was just really nice to be able to do that for someone. And I thought, well, that's a really important gift we could be giving people right now, is helping them understand, you know, this is what's in your pantry and this is what you can make out of it.
Oh yeah, that's very true. I guess for me, I've been able to restock since then, but once when the virus hit and everybody was stuck inside, like my liquor cabinet was pretty much depleted. But now I've been able to re-up, so it's really just been kind of, I feel like I'm drinking more at home now, of course, now than ever before. Because usually once, you know, with us being out there on the streets, you know, you're out there tasting and talking Uncle Nearest all day. So when you get home, you're like, I'm just drinking water, you know. So now, I mean, you know, just to be around the house and having cocktails and and the kids are here. You know, we're having dinner, and you know, Daddy, what's in your glass? I'm like, can't have any Daddy juice. This is Daddy's juice. You guys have your juice. I got Daddy juice. So yeah, it's been a lot more stuff, but it's funny because I'm making a lot more cocktails with juice because the kids got juice all over the daggone place. So I'm like doing like little different stuff. And right now, of course, my juice of choice is pineapple juice. It's been working good. Yeah. So we'll keep on playing with that as the months go by.
So what do you make with pineapple juice? Like, what are some of the concoctions you've come up with?
Well, you know, my mother's from Bermuda, so I'm half Bermudian. So I mean, I love ginger beer. I love ginger beer. So ginger beer and pineapple juice are always just a great combination by themselves, just those two. So I've been doing a lot of different cocktails and that. Like I said, I used this it was a tiki Thai simple syrup. You know, shout out to my homies at 1821.
Wait, can I see that? But hold that up
Yeah.
to the camera. Tiki Thai rich simple syrup. So what's in it? Exactly. Does it say what the ingredients are? Like, what's the flavor profile like?
Oh, crap, Sailor. Of course you're gonna ask me that.
Tell me what it smells like.
Put my glasses on. Let's see.
Yeah, put your glasses on, Grandpa.
Oh, what is that? Oh, I don't know. It's got. I mean, there's definitely some spice to it. It's got like a little orange rind flavor to it.
Okay.
There's something else in there too.
So tiki Thai, is that what you said? Like Thai, Thai?
Yes.
Ooh. So it's
I don't know. Hey, Speedy's a genius at this. Speedy, I know you can do this real fast.
Speedy took off.
And oh no.
Yeah.
Darn. And
you guys didn't know?
Nope.
This is an episode of Survivor, Uncle Near style. We just didn't tell y'all.
Yep.
So
at any minute you get voted off the island. Yep.
You get voted off right now.
Where's our panelists? So, that's where we are on that cocktail.
So you better keep in line there, buddy. Okay, I'm looking it up now. So so you put that together with the pineapple juice and the ginger beer? Is that what you're saying?
Real fast. Yep. Just
Okay.
did that. I mean, it's nice. Yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's flavorful, it's delicious.
It says
1884 goes real good with that.
I would imagine. It says it's a perfect balance of sweet and spice, uniquely made with fresh coconut water, charred pineapple, Thai basil, lemongrass, and Thai chilies. Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
No orange, no. I was
good.
totally off on the orange. Maybe that's...
Well, I mean, if that's what you're getting, that's what you're getting. But it makes sense that would go well with the ginger beer and your pineapple juice. That sounds delicious.
Yummy. Yeah, it's working. It's definitely working.
So our whiskey brother, Nick Griffith, is with us tonight. And he said that he said having a couple of really good fortified wines is a lifesaver. He uses whiskey as the modifier and something like Kochi or Punta Masa as the base. Still tasty, less hangovery.
Less hangovery. I
said
that.
He said hangover. I said hangovery. It just flowed off the tongue.
There you go.
So Punta Mas, it's cool that you brought that up because I got to sit in a training, and it was the global brand ambassador for, I forget the brand that holds all of them, but Antica Formula and Punta Mas, and heard the story about how it got named Punta Mas, which was really interesting. So it means 1.5 points, 1 point sweetness, 1/2 point bitterness. So I thought that was really cool. And it really is that is a really great best friend for Uncle Nearest whiskey. I can attest to that for sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Richard Cheshel says, on the line with fortified wines, I've been using a good amount of sherry in cocktails since I've been home. Yes.
Yes.
Sherry in 1856. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
so good. Especially if you do a sherry wash. Have you guys done that with the 1856? Oh, it's so good. So good. Speedy, you're back on the island. This is temporary. You may get voted out again. So you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to work to stay on. Don't get anything wrong.
Speedy. Don't be afraid.
Little man, huge effort.
So I wanted to ask our guests that are on tonight. Unfortunately, we're having some issues getting our very special guest on. She's having technical issues, and this is just what we deal with as we're all on the internet and trying to work with these programs that can be very glitchy. So we're just going to do our best to talk about cocktails and enjoy our cocktails and happy hour with you. So I'd love to hear about, what do you guys, I guess the great question is, what do you most want to know about cocktails and drinks? And, how interested really are you in making cocktails at home? Now that you have the time, do you want to go a little above and beyond, or do you want just something super simple? And maybe someone wants to challenge us, and maybe someone want to tell us what's in your give us like 4 or 5 pantry items, and we can try and come up with an Uncle Nearest cocktail with it. So just go ahead and use the chat, the webinar chat, and we can we'll see who wins, and whoever has the worst pantry cocktail gets kicked off the island.
That's not even fair. I'm
just kidding. How do you know that? You don't know until you try.
Even when I was a bartender, I was like that nightclub. Oh, what do you want? Oh, whiskey Coke. Good.
Okay, but
hurry up, get him out of here. Don't have time for all that.
But how would you make an elevated whiskey Coke? Imagine if someone said to you, Maggie, I have pineapple juice and ginger beer, so gonna try that. Boom, there you go. That's it.
You're in a good place if you have pineapple and ginger beer. You're
yes,
good. You're
yes,
fine.
perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
So how could you make an elevate if someone said you have to like the chopped mentality? So you have a bottle of 1856, so it stands up to the Coke, and Coke, and then you can have 3 other ingredients. How could you make it elevated? Anybody want to take a stab?
Well, first of all, I would use Mexican Coke.
Oh yes, 100%.
Starting off number one, because it makes
Mexican
a huge
Coke. Because it's real.
Coke.
It's
real sugar cane, right? It's not like the Coca-Cola that we have here in the States.
Correct.
And it's definitely not like the Coca-Cola Ano soda gun. So that's number one. So if you can't get your hands on Mexican Coke, at least do bottled Coca-Cola in the glass bottles. Please don't use cans, guys. Sorry. That's, number one. So I guess you would be doing pretty much like a Cube Libre, right? Which is basically just
to elevate it.
Coke,
that's all you're gonna do.
No. So here's the thing. What's the rules though? Like, do we have to keep it like a standard Cube Libre, or like how far can we go?
Do whatever you want with it. Go nuts.
So are these going to be alcoholic components? Is it going to be bitters? Is it going to be something directly
so you
out of the pantry?
You have Uncle Nearest 1856. Let's say you have Mexican Coke, and you can have 3 other ingredients. Anything you want.
I would do Aztec chocolate bitters.
Okay.
Right? Because I like that there's a little bit of spice to it. It's not necessarily like a dark chocolate, like some of the other chocolate bitters. So I would do Aztec chocolate. I would do Mexican Coke. What else would I do in there? Even just something as simple as, I don't want to get too sweet now, because do you know what I mean? Because now it's like I don't ever like using Coca-Cola in any of my drinks, in my cocktails, just like period, standard. I'm going to pass it off to someone else. I'm going to pass it off to Speedy. Speedy, what would you add? Because I already put the I'm so mean. I'm so mean.
I was thinking
I got you.
about a quarter teaspoon of vanilla extract,
Okay.
some
Nice.
ghost pepper syrup.
Oh,
Ooh.
So you have
interesting.
that heat with the sweet. And
I
I'm just
like
confident
I
those
like
that.
two
that. I
ingredients.
like that.
Because you're using the Mexican Coke with it. So it just, I
Okay.
don't know, those two kind of pop.
Nice
I was
move.
gonna say I'd use one of my ingredients as like a rim, so like a tahini rim or something. Add a little spice to cut some of the sweet of the Coke, and obviously Uncle Nearest has that sweetness component as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would want a little bit of tingle on the tongue, if you will.
I'll tingle on the tongue. I love it.
All
I love
right.
the idea of the ghost pepper. You could also take the Coca-Cola and just reduce it down.
That's
And
true.
Yeah,
use
Coke
it.
it down.
Make it a syrup. Yeah.
Use it. I would
Mhm.
add bitters to it. I was gonna do something like cayenne, so that's the ghost pepper is awesome. Cayenne, and you can just reduce that all down. Throw in some lemon rinds in there, a little bit of sea salt,
I like
Ooh,
it.
I like that.
I like where you're going.
and add it to your. Actually, that sounds really good. I should
Oh,
build.
yeah.
I should do this. It sounds really
You
good.
should also do like dehydrated limes with it, you know?
I was gonna just be like, I was gonna do the easy part, be like, just muddle some limes, maybe lime and orange in there in the bottom. You know what I'm saying? And add all that stuff on top. Call it a freaking day. See what happens. A little citrus, of course, for real.
I think whenever
Absolutely.
you're using great ingredients, right, you can
Yeah.
keep it simple, right?
Yeah,
So like
you
just
can. Yeah.
just having like fresh limes, just having Mexican Coke, right? Like just having great whiskey like Uncle Nearest, right? It makes all of that stuff makes a huge difference because we're nerding out and we're riffing, but just for people who are watching us at home, it's like
The
don't
point
Great
is,
ingredients,
use
a
you
great
have to
company.
just be. You can't be afraid to experiment. Just try it. Like, what would this be like? What would this be like? Well, we would just try it. Richard has challenged us with an ingredient, a main ingredient, fish sauce.
Oh, actually, I welcome that
Wow.
challenge.
I was gonna say it's nice and salty
I-
and briny.
That's a
What-
great one.
What is
I
the
would
ingredient?
do
Fish sauce.
fish sauce.
Oh,
I would
Oh.
do
sassy.
I would do serrano. I would do like a serrano pepper syrup with a touch of fish salt, raspberries, yuzu, and
I know you're gonna say yuzu.
I love me
I
some
know.
yuzu. I do, and especially if I'm keeping with an Asian spice, and I'm going to do an Asian citrus. Also because yuzu is a bit softer. It's not as acidic as just like a standard lemon or a lime. It's got a little touch of sweetness to it. And yes, I would do raspberry, yuzu, a serrano pepper syrup, a touch of fish sauce, and I would do Uncle Nearest 1884. So if I said 56, I take it back. Go back to 84. Sorry, guys.
Okay, who else wants to take a stab? Nobody? Come on, fellas.
You had me a fish sauce. I was like, what?
So you could do 1856 fish sauce, and again, I would probably reduce it. Papaya juice and sake
Ooh, nice.
with a salt rim, like maybe a
Mhm.
spice salt rim, like a Thai pepper salt rim.
Okay, Sarah, what about some sort of shooter? That'd be fun.
That would be fun. How would you? Yeah. Would you
no
do it like
idea how to do it.
layered?
You could. I'm just brainstorming ideas here. I'm not.
You could also make a
You-
foam. You could make a foam with the fish sauce.
Yeah.
What if you made like
Yeah.
a nice salty foam for maybe like a Thai sour, whiskey sour?
Yeah, that could be cool. You could also just do a mist and put it in an atomizer. So you can just put the fish sauce in an atomizer. If you guys ever go to Bed Bath & Beyond and the olive oil sprays, you can just put a little fish sauce in that and either put it as a finishing touch on top of the cocktail, or if you want, you could actually instead of a rinse, actually just do a mist of it inside of the glass, because fish sauce is really potent. So just even a little
You would
bit of
need,
it
like,
will
droplets.
go really, 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 really far. I think fish sauce and guava
That's why I kind of thought
yeah.
papaya. You might be right on the
Right.
guava though. Maybe the papaya would be too funky because it's
No,
like funky and funky, like funk.
but
Too
double
much
funk could
funk.
be awesome.
Double
Double
funk.
could be like,
Could
double
call
funk
it the
could be
double funk.
awesome though. Double funk could be also
I like
awesome
it.
though.
It could
So
be
I
cool to
actually,
do a shooter though. Like Eric said, and suspend the fish sauce in the middle of it.
mm-hmm.
Look, full disclosure, years ago, I had a chef play a really mean prank on me when I was hungover with fish sauce, and I haven't been able to come near it since.
Oh
Like,
no.
even talking about it, it's just, sorry. So
Oh
I can't.
I kind of want to hear this prank.
my god. What was the prank?
No, my kids are listening.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I said no to the vacation.
Okay, so let's move away from that for a second. We have a question from the wonderful and beautiful Sherry Moore. Yay!
I love
So she said she's just learning about cocktails. She's learning about entertaining and pre-batch cocktails. She loves to share the copper skies with friends.
Yes.
Pre-batch is definitely the hostess best trick. You're 1,000% right. Could we talk about pre-batch entertaining? And that is probably one of the biggest questions I think you can get as a mixologist is, what do I do if I have a group of people, I'm having a party, because, unless you have a setup in your house where you have a bar that's front facing and you can be back there like and still talking to your guests, then you can just keep making cocktails if that's what you want to do with your time. But you can just make cocktails and set up like a nice table, and you can have some pitchers there and they can just pour themselves and you can have it all labeled. How, so maybe we can talk about like some of the do's and don'ts. We discussed this a little bit last night, but it's good to go over again, the things that you don't want to put inside your pre-batch cocktails and let it sit too long, and how long they last in the fridge, and any success stories you have with Speedy, you've pre-batch cocktails for literally thousands of people at once.
Yeah, I was about to say Speedy's the king.
One or two.
So you
Speedy's the
pre-batched
king.
for the opening of the Uncle Nearest distillery. And so talk about that process.
It was a process. They sit down here. It was a hoot. Yeah.
I bet it was.
So I mean, we're talking close to 90 cases total of whiskey. I mean, with the old fashions alone, that was 25 gallons of the pre-batch old fashioned.
Wow.
So when it comes to pre-batching, it depends on, the theme of your party. I mean, if you want to do, punches and stuff like that, I'm not, it depends on the duration of the party. I'm not really a big fan of leaving, product out in a big punch bowl. So I like to keep it in a, contained receptacle, something like that. Obviously I'm a fan of barrels. But yeah, it depends on the theme of your party. If you're going to do punches, so be it. If you're going to do whiskey-based cocktails, you need to know what kind of glassware you're going to have, because it's all math.
Right.
And as far as how long your product keeps, that depends on what you have in there. Obviously, anything that's going to be fruit-based is not going to last as long. Your syrups are going to last longer. Your shrubs are going to clearly last a lot longer if you're doing a shrub-based cocktail, because the vinegar, it preserves it.
So
Yeah,
go ahead, May.
And Speedy did such an incredible job, guys. Like, I wish you guys could have been there for the grand opening of the Nearest Green Distillery. We expected X amount of guests. We got way more, to the point where some of us were outside directing traffic, me, outside directing traffic. And Speedy didn't just batch 1 or 2 cocktails. He did about 5, Speedy, if I'm not mistaken, with 3 different stations. And I mean, he did such an incredible job with it. So it's like, we have to, really just send our kudos to you for that. As far as what I might add to that is, what's really helpful for me is conversions. So if you go on a website, right, and there's conversions, if you have a 750 milliliter of Uncle Nearest, right, convert that into how many cups, right? So you take a standard recipe. So let's say standard old-fashioned recipe is 2 ounces of Uncle Nearest, a quarter ounce of your sweetener, and 2 dashes of bitters, right? So what I would do is find out first, like how many ounces is in an Uncle Nearest bottle. So it comes out to about 26 1 ounces or 13.52 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I know that, I basically go and multiply that number to the bitters and also the sweetener. So I know how much bitters and sweetener to add to 1 bottle of Uncle Nearest. And then depending on how many people I'm batching. So I basically know that I can get 13 old fashions, 13 2-ounce Uncle Nearest old fashions out of a bottle. And then depending on how much I need, then I'll basically convert that into cups and just keep doing your math that way. As long as you keep referring back to what the original specs were for the recipe for a 1 cocktail pour. And then you go from that because it's really about math. If anything has citrus in it, lemon juice, lime juice, yuzu, you are basically giving yourself a short shelf life with it. So what I tend to do is if I have to push something where it's like I batched cocktails for my best friend's wedding, right? What I'll do is, and it was at a campsite, so I had to do it at home, transport it,
I
drive
hate that
it.
when you're doing it out.
I know, but the thing is, when people know that you are a mixologist, how can you not create the cocktails for someone's wedding, right? Like, of course. So what I did was I basically kept the spirit and didn't mix it until the very, very final end, just to make sure my citrus was still good, because you don't want to ruin it where you pour 5 bottles of your spirit in and you realize that your citrus turned. So that's another tip as well, is try to keep the base spirit away from the citrus batch if you have to pre-batch a couple of days beforehand.
Yeah, you want to add your citrus at the end. And so interesting that our lovely UK brand ambassador, who we call Posh Matt, actually did a video showing you how you can pre-batch an old fashioned in your bottle of whiskey. It's brilliant how he did it. So we have a YouTube channel where all of our videos go and our shows go. And so that will be up, I believe on Monday. We will, on our YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe to it. You will see how he does that, which is a really smart idea. And you can actually keep it in the refrigerator or the freezer even, because he uses the 1856, and then you just pour it into your glass, boom, you're good to go. And then Xander also said using oleo saccharum, and that's really the move you can make if you want to get citrus flavor in your pre-batch cocktails and you want to batch them way ahead of time. And it just means citrus sugar. And you basically take citrus rinds and you can put them in for some reason, a sandwich baggie just works really well, because I go in there and mush it up every day. So you just peel like lemons, let's say, and then you put sugar in there and you close it up and you stick it in the fridge and you just let it hang out. And eventually it's going to turn into this really beautiful, like viscous, liquidy, gummy stuff. It's just deliciousness. And you can add a little bit of water to it to loosen it up, and you can use that in your cocktails. And your pre-batch cocktails will last a lot longer. I usually like to, like I said, I'll set up a table and I'll have like maybe 4 different cocktails, and I'll have a little card that says what's in it, the ingredients, just in case people have allergies. And then I'll have like a little thing of ice, and I'll say, pour it into it's depending on what it is. I might say give it a stir, and I leave a long spoon in each one, give it a stir, pour it into your glass over ice, and you're good to go. And I leave out all like a little garnish bar, and people find that really fun too when they get to pick their garnishes. So it just seems, and it's no work for me because I can just drink and enjoy with everyone else as well, rather than standing there and bartending, because obviously what's expected everywhere we go, right? Everybody's like, oh, are you going to bartend for us? Are you going to make us cocktails? And I'm like, oh, you're a dentist? You want to clean my teeth every time we hang out? Sweet. Awesome. Oh, you're an accountant? Want to do my taxes every time we get together socially? Cool.
But it's also a great.
I'm just kidding.
But it's also a great gift though. So like one of my best friends recently got married and I created a his and hers cocktail for them. Don't get me wrong, I wore a beautiful dress and it was absolutely full of, syrup stains because I couldn't leave the bartenders alone. Like I tried not to micromanage, but when you hear the sound of a shake, like when there's too little ice, there's too much ice, they're shaking too hard, they're not shaking enough, the seal isn't sealed right, and like I'm in there in the back and had to get my hands in there. But it's also a really great way of making people feel so cared and welcome for when they come to your house for a house party, for a dinner, or sharing your gifts with the people you love, like their wedding and so forth. I did a cocktail that was an effervescent cocktail. So what I did was I batched everything beforehand and then waited at the end to let the bartenders add the ginger beer or the Topo Chico soda water. So that's another good element as well too, because you want to keep your carbonated, liquids carbonated and for them not to go flat. So I tend not to do that in my pre-batches, is add them beforehand.
Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a very good tip.
So how do you guys feel about bitters on pre-batch cocktails? If you're batching the day before, because me personally, I don't like to add too much because I found that it compounds over time.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you put like half a cup of bitters and like a couple gallons of something, 3-4 days later, all you're gonna taste is bitters. That's a huge risk.
Where does the clove come from?
Yeah, exactly. What am I drinking? Let's see. Richard says they did a series of batch cocktails that had great success last summer. There was definitely an element of presentation that was pretty cool for our guests, bringing over a small batch vessel and pouring tableside. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's the Bloody Mary bar, as much as some people knock it, it was a genius. It's a genius thing to do for volume. It's, and people like interactive stuff, and they want to choose like, oh, I want this garnish and that garnish, and oh, I'm pouring it myself. I don't know why people just find that super fun, and that's great. And I think it's cool to and like pouring tableside. That's a really cool element of presentation. If you have an outdoor bar, that would be so awesome to take over a little mini pitcher and pour it right there. That would be just so cool. Kind of like the old Caesar salad station that would get wheeled up to your table. But it was so good because it was made fresh right there. Why did we stop doing that? I loved that.
So I was wondering if I can pose a question for our audience, which is like, what is your to-go cocktail that you guys like to serve when you're entertaining?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of times, I was just thinking about when you were talking about rolling around with the cart. I was like, hey, that'd be one heck of a concept. You kind of bring that back in a restaurant. The bartender come out from behind the bar and pretty much roll up to a table and pretty much make a cocktail right there.
Multnomah Whiskey Library in Portland does that. So that's part of you have to it's a whole concept, and it's so you get your table and then you have a dedicated bartender and they come to you and they have a whole cart that they bring. So you order first and they load up their cart, I'm assuming, with all the elements they're going to need specifically for that cocktail and your base spirits, and they come over and they make it right there table side for you.
Oh yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. I like that. Yeah. What's your go-to cocktail, guys? Let's say, I mean, it's going to depend seasonally. Like if it's winter, if it's summer. So how about everybody's like summer? What's your go-to summer cocktail for guests? Friends come over or a party or something?
It's going to depend on what's being served. It's going to depend on what's being served, of course, because everything has to complement the food, especially if you're doing You know, if you're doing a barbecue, then I'm going to go a certain route. If you guys are doing a sit down dinner where, you know, you're serving grilled meats, that's something else. If you're doing seafood, and also, you know, I try to keep in the theme of the event, and also who's my host or who's my guest, right? Because you want to make sure that you are catering and tailoring, you know, that experience for them. So,
you don't think there's one cocktail that can be so versatile that, like for me, I feel like a highball, you can never go wrong. Winter, summer, spring, fall, outdoor, indoor, meat, vegetables, sushi, fried chicken. A highball kind of, I don't know, it like does the trick for everything.
I know it's cliche, but I always go with an old fashioned, you know, as far as the number one go-to that's year round.
In the I don't know if I would drink that in the summer. Serve that in the summer though. I guess like
spring, summertime. Shoot, you know, it's the easy one for us would be the Tennessee Buck. I mean, I think that's always a daggone crowd favorite. Where you know, where it's kind of simple to put together, and you know, has some brightness, and folks are so familiar.
Yeah, you definitely can't go wrong with any kind of mule riff.
Moscow Mule, you say the whiskey mule, they're like, what? Whiskey? And then you let them drink, crap, this just, you know, it wins right there. In spring, summertime, be very careful, especially if you're using 1856.
So Jay, for those of us who might not be familiar, because I know people know what a Moscow Mule is, right? So for our viewers, can you let them know what a Tennessee Buck is?
He's frozen.
He got kicked off the island, guys.
That was us trying to push you off the island. You were like, no!
Jay's overboard. There he is. He's back again.
Reel him back in.
The tribe has spoken. You have to let us know what a Tennessee Buck is to stay on the island, Jay.
Yes.
So Tennessee Buck is pretty much but a play on a Moscow Mule, but of course it's our whiskey, the 1856 or 1884. I do mine with 1884. A little bit of ginger liqueur. We got the Canton ginger, which is back up in there somewhere. A little Canton ginger liqueur, of course some lime juice and ginger beer. And sometimes for me, depending on who I'm working with, I may add just a little bit of simple syrup, like maybe like a quarter ounce or something like that, just to bring it up just a little bit of a notch. And that goes really good. And then of course garnish with a fresh lime squeeze on top and call it a freaking day. But of course you shake up the whiskey, the lime juice, and the Canton ginger and simple syrup. Shake that up. Pour that into a cup, whether you got a mule cup or you know whatever whatever you have. Then you pour that in, and you put the ginger beer on top. Squeeze the lime. Done deal.
Yeah, it's really effervescent. It's really delicious. You can also get the recipe on our website at unclenearest.com. And it's really such a great crowd pleaser. So the reason why it's called a Tennessee Buck is, of course, we are an ultra premium Tennessee whiskey, and we decided to go with Buck as the animal versus, you know, Moscow is a reference to Russia, you know, and the mule. So that is our play on it. And it is actually quite a crowd pleaser. I don't think
it really
I've ever encountered anyone who didn't enjoy the cocktail.
You know, and Sherry mentioned the Copper Skies. Speedy, do you want to talk about that cocktail? That's another one that people lose their minds over.
Yeah, that one, you know, it's more for, you know, going into the fall season, you know, because it's very heavy in cinnamon. Now, the cocktail itself was conceived originally by a gentleman from Death & Co. And so he sent me some components to play with. And yeah, I know, mad respect.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so he threw out, it was 4 tails. And so they wanted a few of us to play around with the components. So I just kind of tied it all together. But, you know, so it's an ounce and a half of 1856, fresh lime, cinnamon syrup, but I make my own. And so what I do is I quadruple the amount of cinnamon. I use sticks. And so I really up the heat index. And then using a Q grapefruit, you know, it's a very specific grapefruit soda. It's not really a soda. It's more like a tonic. but it's very heavy in like the orange peel flavor profile. But yeah, that one, people, it's been wildly popular. I actually took Victoria about 100 last week.
Oh, I remember that.
And then my phone started blowing up today, wanting to know if we had any out of the distillery because Fawn and Keith were wanting some too.
Oh wow!
So what we have to do then is we need to figure out how we can bottle that or do it in a can, because canned cocktails, telling you, they're
Mm-hmm.
Canned cocktails there.
anyone who was in on the canned cocktail thing previously right now is winning big time. Right now they are murdering it. That would be
I used to hate having to sell them, and now like I would love to sell them.
Same, right? An Uncle Nearest canned cocktail. Oh my God, that would be incredible.
Oh, that'd be killer.
Oh, it would be so incredible.
I'm just trying to get us 375 milliliter bottles. That's my first goal.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation right now. Don't open up those cans of worms right now.
Xander wants airline bottles.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
Talk about a can of worms.
Everyone in the company is going to say that. So I think that what would be really fun to do is I'm going to give you all a challenge, and so we will include what I'm going to ask you guys to put together when we post this video afterwards. We always post it on the Uncle Nearest Facebook page, and then we post it on our YouTube channel, and I shared that link with you guys. So let's all come up with an easy but really interesting pantry cocktail that we can share with everyone that was here tonight and with future viewers. And let's do a tropical inspiration, since our guest was having technical difficulties, but we will have her back on, and we will post that video as well. Eric, do you want to, or May, do you want to talk a little bit about who she is and what she was going to do tonight?
Absolutely. So Michelle Hamilton, and that's Michelle with one L, guys. She is an incredible rising superstar mixologist from Houston. She worked at such notable places such as Julep. And what I had the pleasure of speaking to her before and got a little, preview into her Tapache Pina cocktail. And we are going to post this on the Uncle Nearest Facebook and YouTube channel for the after hours show. So Michelle's going to join us and we're going to record this. So basically she was going to teach us how to make a fermented pineapple drink, really easy to make at home with using pineapple rind and also the core. So it's basically like the parts that you would normally discard, with cinnamon sticks and brown sugar. It's a really well-known cocktail in Mexico and also the Caribbean. And she was going to do it with pineapple syrup and 1884. She is really wonderful about being able to tailor things to the guest. She says, I don't want to just make what I enjoy. I like to ask you questions of like, what spirits you tend to gravitate towards? Do you have more of a sweet, tart, acidic, a fruity palate? And she's such a pleasure. I can't wait for you guys to meet her, and she's going to take us to paradise. So we're going to stay in our beach attire and hope that you guys join us for the after hours. Eric works closely with Michelle, and I was wondering, Eric, if you would like to add anything to let our viewers know how awesome Michelle is.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle's great. One of the first times I really got to see her talents up close was actually recently at the Forgotten Legacy dinner we were a part of down in Houston that celebrated Black History Month. And it was really cool because it didn't solely involve us. We partnered with one of the best on-premise accounts in Houston, Backstreet Cafe, and Sean Beck. I want to give him a quick shout out. And also partnered with Grey Goose, Hennessy, I don't even remember who else it was off the top of my head, but these really major, worldwide brands. And she was tasked with creating one of the welcome cocktails, which was a Bloody Mary. And she came up with these 4 crazy variants on Bloody Marys that were just blew my mind. And I'm a sucker for a good Bloody Mary. So we stayed in touch after that. And then I brought her out to the RNDC Craft Roadshow that happened down in Houston as well, right before all this shutdown. And she came up with another amazing cocktail using 1884. She called it Nearest Secret, and it was just, I mean, it was a huge hit. It was by far and away the best cocktail at the trade show. So, you know, she's doing amazing things. She is extremely talented and obviously very passionate about the brand. So she's a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah, and I think that's also some of the pleasures that we have of launching shows like VIP Happy Hour and our, you know, Cocktail Corner and Whiskey Wednesdays, is highlighting the talent that we get the chance to collaborate with on a daily basis as brand ambassadors for Uncle Nearest. And it's great to be able to shine the spotlight of talented liquid chefs like Michelle Hamilton.
Absolutely. Well, this was awesome, you guys. It's a bummer that we couldn't get the technical gremlins worked out, but I just put the link in the chat. If you'd like to join us, we are going to close this room because we think it was something with this space that was giving her problems, and we're going to open up the new room. Follow the link, and if you want to join us, you're more than welcome, and see Michelle live at her craft and be able to ask her questions. Otherwise, please visit the Uncle Nearest Facebook page and the YouTube channel Pound the Rock, the link I provided in the chat, and we will see you all next Friday. Every Friday we have happy hour at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'm excited for what we have next week, but we'll keep that a surprise for now, shall we?
I'm
Okay.
Sure enough.
I'm intrigued. I'll be
So aloha and drink honorably.
there. Yes.
Aloha.
Hello.